Good morning, everybody. Today is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And first, I would like to acknowledge the Indigenous land that we are on this morning. This is the home to many Indigenous people across Turtle Island, and it's very important that we remember all of the historical and ongoing injustices that Indigenous women and girls and Indigenous people have to face. So my name is Jennifer Dunn, and I am the Executive Director at the London Abused Women's Centre, located in London, Ontario. And I'm standing here this morning with MP Kayabaga, MP Vecchio, and MP Taylor-Roy. The London Abused Women's Centre is a feminist organization that supports and advocates for personal, social, and systemic change directed at ending male violence against women and girls. We are a non-residential organization that provides women and girls over the age of 12 who have been abused, assaulted, exploited, trafficked, and who have been subjected to non-state torture with immediate access to long-term, trauma-informed counseling, advocacy, and support. Last year, the London Abused Women's Centre had over 11,000 service interactions. This number includes over 4,000 individual, group, and urgent support service interactions, as well as over 6,600 calls for support. And this number also includes over 320 women who had been trafficked or were at risk of being trafficked. For the last 15 years, the London Abused Women's Centre has been running the Shine the Light on Women Abuse campaign every November to coincide with Women Abuse Prevention Month. What started out as a grassroots awareness-raising initiative has turned into an internationally recognized campaign. And the purpose of the campaign is to raise awareness of the issues around violence against women and to show women and girls that they're not alone and that any shame or blame that they might feel is not theirs to bear. It belongs to the perpetrator of the abuse. So some of you watching right now might already know about the campaign. We have over 100 illumination points across the world, and in 2016, the campaign received a video message from Prime Minister Trudeau. This year's focus for the campaign is femicide. We honored the lives of Sarah Booley and Samantha Lambert, who were both murdered at the hands of men in Ontario. And while this campaign has been running for 15 years, the reality is, from 2013 to 2023, Toronto, Ottawa, Halifax, Montreal, and London accounted for almost half of all police-reported incidents of human trafficking in Canada. And the City of London alone, since July 2023, we have had 4 femicides. Their names are Caitlin Jennings, Tiffany Gates, Cheryl Sheldon, and Brianna Broadfoot. So we are here today because it's November 25th, and it's the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And while we are nearing the end of November and Women Abuse Prevention Month and the Shine the Light on Women Abuse campaign, November 25th is the start of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. The United Nations says, violence against women and girls remains one of the most prevalent and pervasive human rights violations in the world, and Canada is no exception. According to the Canadian Femicide Observatory for Justice and Accountability, 1 woman or girl is killed every 48 hours in Canada. In 2009, the Department of Justice found that it cost $7.4 billion to deal with the aftermath of spousal violence alone. And while the federal government has been investing in the National Action Plan to end gender-based violence, more needs to be done. We know from the frontline work that we do at the London Abused Women's Centre that women and girls in our country do not have sufficient resources, support, or assistance. It takes an enormous amount of courage for women who are subjected to abuse, assault, trafficking, and torture to report to police or to follow through with the justice system. We know the process is long and quite painful. The justice system still relies on women to testify about what has happened to them, re-traumatizing them in the process. Never has it been more important for the government to listen to what we have to say, because women and girls are at risk for no other reason than the fact that they are women. We have evidence of this in our not-so-distant past, because it wasn't until 1929 that women were declared persons. In 1960, all Canadian women were finally given the right to vote. And it wasn't until 1983 the Criminal Code of Canada was amended to make it clear that the spouse of a victim could be charged with sexual assault. And it wasn't until 2022, only 2 short years ago, that the Government of Canada announced the historic milestone and the endorsement of the 10-year National Action Plan to end gender-based violence. Many Canadians do not know that women are being murdered at the hands of men, that Indigenous women go missing and murdered at such high rates. Many Canadians do not know that trafficking is happening in their city. And many Canadians are very unaware that in the not-so-distant past, federal and provincial governments forced hundreds of thousands of women to give up their babies by means of forced or coerced adoptions. We know for certain that continuous changes in legislation, education, awareness, and funding will continue to provide supports for protection for women and girls in our country. And to that end, the London Abused Women's Centre proposes the following recommendations for the Government of Canada on the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. 1, that the Government of Canada commit to the development of legislation to end male violence against women and girls in all forms. This includes amendments to the Criminal Code to include femicide, to identify violence against women, intimate partner violence, and family violence as specific categories of offenses, separate and distinct from other forms of violence to better protect victims and survivors. 2, that the Government of Canada work in collaboration with each province and violence against women organizations to develop a national mandatory violence against women prevention and education strategy, including school curriculums for all levels of education, from kindergarten to high school. 3, that the Government of Canada commit to ensure there is an appropriate level of funding for violence against women organizations providing abused and exploited women and girls with immediate access to long-term trauma-informed support and services. And 4, that the Government of Canada commit to acknowledge and act on historical and ongoing injustices against women and girls. Continuing to draw attention to this issue of violence against women is of the utmost importance because we should not be normalizing this behavior in our society. We must continue to call it out. And now I would like to invite MP Kayabaga to speak.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Good morning, everyone. It is an honor to join Jennifer Dunn and my colleagues here to commemorate the International Day of the Elimination of Violence Against Women, which is an occasion for us to continue to amplify the voices of those that are lost in our city and in our country. And thank you so much, Jennifer, for naming them and naming our daughters, our sisters, those that we've lost this year alone. I'd like to take a moment to thank Jennifer and her team and the Executive Director of the London Abused Women's Centre and the entire team for organizing this press conference this morning and to continuing to be the voice of many, not only for the City of London, but for the entire national ecosystem. And so, as you said, my name is Arielle Kayabaga. I join you today to continue this valuable discussion on critical issues facing women and girls around the globe. Violence against women is not merely personal. It's a tragedy. It is a global epidemic affecting millions and transcending cultural, societal, social, and economic boundaries. The theme for this year is Come Together and Act Now, which is a theme that really goes to underscore the vital need of involving everyone in Canada, particularly our men and our boys, in changing the social norms, attitudes, and behaviors that lead to gender-based violence. This continues to stress the importance of educating individuals about healthy relationships, consent, and respect for each other. We hear the urgent call to action today, and we have to remain deeply committed to fostering a more inclusive and safer nation for every single person that have experienced various forms of gender-based violence. The commitment is especially vital for marginalized groups, including Indigenous women and girls, women of color, and those living in rural and remote areas, members of the 2SL LGBTQI plus community, and women with disabilities. These individuals are even greater risk of experiencing violence at home, in their communities, and can at times go underscored. As we continue to make progress on the federal pathway to address missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and 2SL LGBTQI plus people, we have to continue to contribute to Canada's 2021 National Action Plan and do more. Our goal is to ensure that the voices of those affected are heard, as effective measures are implemented so that everyone can feel safe and respected and values, and free from violence and discrimination. We have to recognize that adequate funding plays a vital role in empowering organizations dedicated to assisting survivors of abuse. In light of recognition, I'm proud to announce that the Government of Canada has continued to make a significant investment of over $80,000 of London Abuse Women Centre, which is LAWC, and we will continue to do more. The fundings that we've made continue to enable LAWC and other organizations in the ecosystem to further their mission in promoting gender equality while enhancing support for its staff so that they can effectively serve survivors and their families in our communities. The initiatives include new residential facility for young women who have experienced sexual exploitation and trafficking, offering safe accommodation and essential resources to help them rebuild their lives and regain independence. Our work at the UN has contributed significantly to developing a strong declaration on the elimination of violence against women, and it's alarming that 1 in 3 women experience physical sexual violence in their lifetime, and most often at the hands of their intimate partner. But this isn't merely about statistics, it's about people, it's about real lives affected by this crisis. Earlier this year, my colleague Karen and I had the opportunity of meeting the family of Brianna, who has brought the community together and everyone continuing to fight against what happened to their daughter. They could have grieved silently, they could have sat at home, but they've decided to really take it up at their mental to not only keep Brianna's voice alive, whom they lost at such a critical age, but to also help the community fight this disease, this big disease that has continued to eat at our girls. So thank you so much for having me join in this conversation. I look forward to seeing the recommendations that you have clearly outlined here be respected and implemented. And I will continue to be a strong voice for not only for the community of London, but also for all of our country. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen Vecchio and I'm the Member of Parliament for Elgin Middlesex London. I am so proud to be here as one of the many people that actually gets to work with the London Abuse Women's Centre in my own region. I can tell you that any time that we have an issue that comes to our office, I know that the help is really one phone call away. And that is what we see in so many of our organizations like the London Abuse Women's Centre, organizations helping the women at the front line. To all of those women and men who are helping, thank you so much. But today is about what we can do and how we can do more. There are 2 points that I want to connect on. First, the word femicide. Femicide was a word that many years ago we did not use, but I believe it is a time that must be used. We must understand what femicide is, and it's the killing of a partner, a woman partner. This is very, very important for us to make sure that when we're looking at abusive situations that we understand what could actually happen at the end of that. I would also like to bring up coercive control. This is a piece of legislation that we have been working on for the last couple of years in the House of Commons, and understanding how coercive control impacts women, understanding the disempowerment between men and women. And this is also very, very important. As Ariana said, we must all work together, whether you are a male or female, young girl or young boy. It's all about kindness and respect. And so whatever we can do, that is where we must start. Teaching children is where we must start. It's learning to have respect and kindness. Thank you all for joining us today. I will now pass it on to my partner, Leah. Leah, go ahead. My partner.
That's okay. Thank you, Karen. We are partners in this.
Partners,
I mean, we all have to work on this issue to ensure that gender-based violence ends. You know, there's so many organizations, and my name is Leah Taylor-Roy. I'm from the riding of Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill. So I've not had the pleasure of working directly with the London Abuse Women's Centre, but I know they do a lot of great work. So thank you for that, and thank you for organizing this day. I'm here on behalf of myself, but also my colleague Pam Damoff, who works with Arielle and I. And she has really been a champion on this front for many, many years, since 2015. And one of the things that I'd like to add to everything that has been said is that when we're talking about violence and abuse, it takes many different forms. And one of those forms is that the abuse that women suffered post-World War II, from about 1940 to 1980 in Canada, when their children were taken away from them, the period of forced adoptions. There was a report published by the Senate in 2017 called The Shame is Ours, entitled The Shame is Ours, and it's worth reading. But we need to take action because a lot of these young mothers whose children were forcibly taken from them are now elderly women. And a lot of the children that they lost have suffered their entire lives from the trauma of this. As a mother of adoptive children, I know how difficult it can be for children, and I can only imagine how it is if you've been taken, you know you were taken forcibly, that you didn't know the identity of your parents, and that your mother didn't give you up freely. So I think it's incredibly important for us to continue to press to ensure that we address this issue, that we follow through on the recommendations from the report, The Shame is Ours, and that we do something similar to what Australia did to take action to address this. And I'd like to mention a woman in my riding of Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill, by the name of Valerie Andrews. She's the founder and chair of Origins Canada and has done a lot of work on this issue. She appeared at the Senate committee as well. So I'd like to say this is a very important day and month, 16 days leading up, but the month of November as well. There's so much more work to be done, and all of us are working jointly to try and ensure that these issues of femicide, of compensation to people who have suffered in the past, missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, all of these things need to be addressed by our government, by civil society. I also want to take a moment to thank the Government of Ontario because they have joined us in our 10-year action plan and have put some money now into combating gender-based violence as well. And this is going to take an effort from every level of government to work together and ensure that we all work towards eliminating violence against women. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much to all of you MPs for joining us here today. And so tonight we will be illuminating the Peace Tower purple at 5 o'clock, and we invite you all to join us. Thank you very much for paying attention today.
Thank you. This concludes the press conference. Merci. C'est ce qui conclut la conférence de presse.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Great job.
Thank you so much.
Hey.